Hello, I'm John Sheerin, the Director of End-of-Life Tire Programs for the U.S. Tire Manufacturers Association. We represent the 12 companies that manufacture tires, on-the-road tires, here in the United States. I'm pleased to talk to you today briefly about the 2021 U.S. Scrap Tire Management Report, which describes the disposition of passenger and truck tires in the United States. It was prepared for USTMA with the assistance from our partners, including all 50 states, over 40 scrap tire recyclers, numerous tire-derived material consumers, and industry experts and related associations. Let me show you where you can find this report online. And here we can see on our front page for ustires.org, and you would click just to the right here, and there it is, the Scrap Tire Management Report. And you can click once, and that report pops right up online. Our messages from this report demonstrate that scrap tires remain one of the most recycled consumer products. However, scrap tire recycling markets are not keeping pace with increasing annual generation. In total, markets consumed 71% of scrap tires in 2021, a decrease from about 76% in 2019. This is primarily because generation increased almost 13% as markets increased only 6%. This is driven in part by recognizing increases in tire sizes as reflected in an updated passenger tire equivalence number for 2021. Scrap tires generally weighed about 20 pounds each 30, 40 years ago. They increased to about 22.5 pounds, but now with the increase in vehicle size, a scrap tire weighs on average about 25 pounds each. And this report reflects that reality. Over a longer time frame, generation of scrap tires has increased by nearly 4% per year each year since 2013, driven by the total number of miles driven, increased tire size, and the number of vehicles. Unfortunately, markets only increased about 6% between 2019 and 2021. Let me show the whole report to you again here. We tell you a little bit about our association and our sustainability vision, specifically that we would like to see all scrap tires entering sustainable and circular end-use markets. We calculate the number of scrap tires generated each year from both replacements at retail stores, for example, and from scrapped vehicles. And then we determined by a thorough process of interviewing states and processors, we determined what the disposition of those scrap tires was, predominantly in weight in thousands of tons. We know that data over the years as well, but let me just show you a couple little graphs. This particular graph figure highlights the management disposition of scrap tires since 2013. Back to 2013 was the peak year for scrap tire end use, with 96% of scrap tires going into some kind of a beneficial end use market. One of those markets is tire-derived fuel, which the US EPA does not consider recycling per se. However, that valuable end use market can consume and use all the energy within most scrap tires in the US. The tire-derived fuel market has always been the baseline market for what happens to scrap tires in the US. What we can see in this graph is that the number of scrap tires generated has increased over time, with a little bit of a jump here reflecting the change in passenger tire equivalents between 2019 and 21. In the blue, generation is continuing to increase. In the green, the total to market had decreased somewhat, between 2013 and 2017. The 2017 to 2019 timeframe is almost the same. They're not statistically different, but we've seen a jump in markets recently, predominantly due to increases in ground tire rubber use. However, even with that 6% jump in the markets between 2021 and 2019, the increase in generation was much more than that, so that the percent of tires going to markets has continued to decline. We need to increase the demand for scrap tires in markets in order to turn this trend around. Scrap tires saw an inflection point or a changing point in 2021, with ground tire rubber slightly eclipsing the number of scrap tires used in tire-derived fuel. Those are the two biggest uses for scrap tires. Civil engineering accounts for about 6%. There's a variety of many other smaller markets that consumed about 13%, with about 17% of scrap tires being directed to landfill disposal. Exports only accounted for less than 2% of the total scrap tires generated in the US, and we have virtually no imports of scrap tires. So this is a domestic matter. This stacked bar chart shows us over time the way the markets have changed, and we can see that tire-derived fuel market in blue on the bottom steadily decreasing over time. We see the big jump in ground tire rubber utilization between 2021 and 2019, and then we see other markets stacked up on top, including the civil engineering market. Within tire-derived fuel, cement kilns are the biggest market, followed by pulp and paper, and these used to be roughly equal sizes, but over time, what we can see is that the combined industrial boilers and electric utility boiler sector has pretty much pinched out. This is predominantly because of a switch to away from solid fuels, away from coal in the electric and industrial boiler categories. They may be switching to natural gas, for example, and as a result, they are not able to burn tire-derived fuel. However, the pulp and paper mill market has been steady, and the tire-derived fuel market in cement kilns has been pretty steady, even though there was a bit of a decline between 2019 and 2021. The ground rubber markets have a variety of submarkets as well, including molded and extruded products, mulch, which grew significantly between 19 and 21, sports surfaces, including infill and synthetic turf fields, rubber modified asphalt, and automotive applications such as old tires going back into new tires as ground rubber, sealants and coatings, and other very fine grind types of markets. The original concern with scrap tires was stockpiles, which were a fire and disease risk. And since about 1990, when the estimated number of tires in stockpiles exceeded 1 billion, according to the US EPA, states have worked hard to get those stockpiles cleaned up, and we are down to under 50 million in stockpiles in the United States, which is a great environmental success story. And here we can see where those stockpiles are located. Colorado has a number of monofills that account for a significant amount of the total. Texas has made substantial progress in the last couple of years. They were up at 17 million, and they're now down around 11 million scrap tires in stockpiles, and I know they're continuing to try and reduce those. Washington, New Mexico, Virginia, and New Jersey all have just over 1 million, and depending on how well they have done their inventory and reported up, all the remaining states are less than 1 million. I hope that gives you some insight into scrap tire management in the United States, and there's far more information available on our website. Thank you, and I wish I could have been there with you today at the Southeast Recycling Conference.